Hello, Speed Gaming 3, and welcome to today's daily race. We've got a mystery mode on stream with Wolfie and Furious Magic, our two featured runners. Mystery, of course, has lots of different settings, and we're running with the most recent league settings from Season 3, which have a really nice mix of entrance and normal and Triforce modes. And looks like today that we're not getting a whole lot of information from this first screen, but I am joined on commentary by Sorcerer Finch. Hey, Sorcerer, how's it doing today?
I'm doing very well, mind of me. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. What do you like to see in mystery modes?
Ooh, that is an interesting question. I honestly really like to see something like a Triforce hunt, just because I tend to run a lot more normal, uh, a lot more of those kinds of modes. So it's something that is just kind of it adds a little bit of spice, I think. But it looks like we are starting, and we have Wolfie starting out in the sanctuary just for that map. But it does look like we have at least vanilla map locations, or the maps aren't scattered throughout the world, at least.
Indeed. So we do know that there's no kind of the. Since we did have a sanctuary exit at sanctuary, it does not appear to be an entrance seed. And looking at that map check, it is confirmed that we do not have any kind of map shuffle. Still could have some kind of other dungeon item shuffle in these mystery settings.
Right, and it does look like I think I saw Eastern and Hera were both pendants, with Eastern I think being the green pendant, if I saw that right. And there's just a red rupee up on the lumberjack ledge. So Aga is not necessarily 100% required to complete the game, but
Oh, and look at that sync on our two runners, setting up those tree poles with synced kills. Wolfie going for the pickle, while Magic went for the crab. And our tracker noticed that we have a starting flute. Now, that flute starts activated, so the runners, when they notice it, can just fly straight to Kakariko whenever they want. And it looks like Furious Magic may be doing that.
after picking up that, oh, and that is a wonderful pickup in Link's house, already getting the fighter sword. So Furious Magic will continue along his journey with that fighter sword while Wolfie continues and starts to use the flute for the first time. Looks like just flying home and going to be, unfortunately, missing the house.
Oh, that's going to be unfortunate. Wolfie going up to do the early uncle check without a weapon to clear escape. And we do know that since one of the dungeon items was in Sanctuary, there are a bevy of items to be found in there.
Right. And meanwhile, Furious Magic appears to be making its way to the racing game where and Wolfie just picked up some bombs.
Now, that was a compass on race game. So we have wild compasses on. That is part of the dungeon item shuffle that's available in this normal mode. We could also have wild small keys and wild big keys. We won't know that until we find one of those.
Right.
Wild
And that
compasses is probably one of the least interesting things for dungeon item shuffle, since compasses just tell you how many items you've picked up in the dungeon.
but Furious already picking up that Master Sword thanks to the Fighter Sword pickup. And there is that compass that Wolfie picked up for the compass in Skull Woods.
And all
And
of the compasses are front loaded here.
oh, but that pickup of half magic for Wolfie that will be very helpful, very nice to get early game.
Yes, it is a fantastic safety to find, which does imply that we have a normal item pool, which is one of the most common. So we can say so far that this is a normal goal with wild compasses, uh, open start, normal item pool.
And that ice rod that Wolfie just picked up knocks out one of the more wild items that there can be to find. And Furious Magic picking up half magic as well.
Now, of course, that ice rod could be required or not required. There is a chance of all dungeons, which would mean that that ice rod is 100% required. But one of the most common goals in here is a defeat Ganon. And of course, then the crystals can be shuffled to equal to or less than 7 crystals.
All right, and Wolfie does pick up the fighter shield for the low price of 100 rupees, and then gets a full heart container as well.
Question in chat. Yes, Furious Magic is using the transport Pokemon sprite Lapras, one of the hundreds of custom sprites available at ALTTP Randomizer.com, and you can use your own sprite and inject it into the game.
All right, and Wolfie will be picking up their fighter sword. There we go. So Wolfie now has a weapon.
It could be, I hope not, but it is a possibility that Wolfie never saves and quits to Link's house now that he has that flute. Just once you get the flute, saving and quitting becomes less and less likely. And so he may miss that second sword for a while.
Which would certainly put him at a slight disadvantage, but it's a long race, and there's still plenty of time in the seat as well. Wolfie will be doing the race game, which unfortunately we already know to just have a compass.
Very disappointing. Wolfie says, "Nope, bird, take me away. Let's check the dam."
Meanwhile, Furious Magic appears to be delving into escape.
We'll be able to guarantee 3 items in the front, and we can get one of the items in the back in the dark out of logic. Choosing to use the ice rod with that half magic, and oh no, that's the cape.
Well, at least now we do have an additional semblance of safety, though, with that cape being able to. Oh, and look what was hiding in the dam. That hook shot. That will certainly help Wolfie.
Yeah, although it also means that that's one less thing that he will want to go and save and quit to Link's house. I imagine he's going to finish his South Shore checks, maybe take a peek over at Desert, and then he is going straight up the mountain for those 8 items on East Death Mountain.
That is a good point. That is a good point. Do you see, though, because it is a relatively quick check, would you anticipate at least a check maybe a little bit later on? And there is the bow for Wolfie. And the Moon Pearl. This is a mini Moldworm Cave that is pretty loaded.
That is a fantastic set of items. Furious Magic found a small key in the Bloomerang chest, which does mean that the Zelda cell and the 3 items in the back are glove locked, since that small key could have been stolen to walk all the way through the back in the dark. And you know what? For Wolfie, I'm not sure. He's a very experienced runner. He may have it in his head that, yeah, I did a Sank start, I did the woods, I did Kakariko, I have never gone inside of Link's house. I hope that's what is in his head, but with all the value that he's finding, it may slip his mind.
And picking up the Book of Medora in the Ice Rod Cave, that's going to be these checks that Wolfie's been making have been very valuable, and there is the wild big key on the desert ledge, and
Yep.
Fury's about to pick up that hook shot.
And we did get a clue about that wild big key when Furious went and killed the ball and chain guard in Zelda Cell and got the text box for that key.
You're absolutely right. Good point.
Right, Furious Wolfie taking no delays to go into desert and grab that big key off the ledge. And Furious is going to get his value out of Mini Moldorm Cave.
And it does look like we have vanilla small keys as well.
Okay, that gives us full information about our dungeon item shuffle. So, wild compasses and wild big keys. That means there are 2 extra items in each dungeon.
And that mirror pickup by Wolfie in the small key locked room right there. And that was a great find, and that was both dungeon items right there.
Okay, that pretty much guarantees that at this point, Wolfie is very unlikely to save and quit back to Link's house now that we've got the mirror. Does also open up Tower of Hera once he climbs up the mountain, and we see that the Desert Torch has nothing really worth our time for the boots.
And I stand corrected because I believe I said 2 items. I had forgotten that since we don't have a big key and since we don't have a compass, that will put a potential for 2 more items in each dungeon.
Ooh, well, if you were guessing item 20 for the big key guessing game, you'd be correct. There it was, just hanging out on Desert Ledge as Furious Magic is doing the dark room to rescue the old man.
And fortunately, even though we do not yet know where the lantern is, this is probably one of the between this and I'd say the Eastern Palace Darkroom Cave. They're both simpler to do than say the maze in Pod.
Yep, that's one of the dark rooms that's the easiest to go first. And luckily, Wolfie does go and pick up his Master Sword and is going to follow Furious up the mountain.
So, and the question for Cape, that is correct. The map chest in Escape had that cape.
So Furious coming up here, a little bit of a disadvantage not having that mirror from Deserts, and sees a lamp inside Spectacle Rock, which means that with a lamp and the hook shot, Hera is potentially clearable, orphaning only the big chest.
Now, with Hera being a regular pendant, do you anticipate that our racers would start going into Tower Hera since it's right here, even though it's a pendant dungeon?
You know what? I think that they would. Especially with that hook shot, instead of just 2 items in Hera, we're looking at 4 items in Hera and a good chance to be able to get 3 of them. And you know what? We don't know the goal. It could be all dungeons. It could be pedestal.
That is a good point, and that is also a good point in chat where we now have everything that we need to beat Aghanim.
Yep, and we know the small keys are going to be right in their vanilla locations along the way.
And Wolfie picking up the Cane of Samaria, that is going to be a wonderful find.
As well as our first bottle for a little extra safety wherever they end up being.
And at this point, they would probably, before the end of the game, go and turn that in to the sick kid. Well, Wolfie does also pick up flippers and that other compass, and we have Wolfie the Shovel Knight.
And you know what? Looking now at we've got Master Sword, Cape, Moon Pearl, Hook Shot. I didn't want to say it until we got the flippers, but now we've got the flippers. That's pretty much full Dark World access as soon as we clear Aga.
And at this point, okay, and Wolfie needs to be a little bit careful, but we do see another compass over on the floating island. I don't anticipate him going and picking that up.
No, at this point, I could say that these compass chests are almost like ice traps, that they just kind of waste your time with an unnecessary text box. And you're like, oh, just give me the goods already.
And of course, and both of our runners going through Spiral Cave without the boots can be a little bit tedious. Um, but Wolf,
Feels bad.
but Wolfie does get that Ice Palace big key, so it's not a compass.
Ice Palace Big Key, one of the nicer big keys to get before you go into Ice Palace. That, Skull Woods, and Swamp Palaces are probably the three big keys that are the best to get, because then you're guaranteed that you're not going to leave an item behind.
All right, and while Wolfie continues on the mountain, Furious, it looks like I guess it looks like going to turn in that shovel and seeing what's buried.
Uh, Also, a great thing that Wolfie did grab his, and there's a second shield. Wolf Furious says no to that. So I guess that means that he didn't have the rupees when he was in Kakariko. Looks like he's doing that now, and guess what?
But that is a smart play, using the bee to get 100 rupees right back.
Yep, you got to make sure that you're in the right position for the bee. Otherwise, sometimes it'll go off and attack the bird statue. But Furious gets the good things and gets 100 rupees back.
Right, because neither of our runners are terribly close to Zora money. However, a 300 would certainly change that mood right around.
Absolutely. All right. Furious gonna go take that book into desert. We'll get his mirror and then likely follow Wolfie up the mountain.
And it's $50 on the Bombos check.
Now the question will be, as Wolfie enters Tower of Hera, does he full clear it, including the basement? Now, there is a chance, of course, that the basement is locking its own small key. That's entirely possible with vanilla small keys. And he is indeed opting to Herapot, which is a double pixel perfect trick to align yourself to clip into this pot, hook shot, and fall in and head up to the fairy room.
And nails it on the first try. Very well done. And Furious Magic picking up that Ganon's Tower big key. Well, Wolfie picks up the big key for Eastern, it looks like.
Oh, okay, so that's going to be a fully clearable green pendant.
Which, coupled with the 3 + 2 items, five items, that plus the sixth for the actual green pendant, that's looking pretty good right about now, probably.
And neither runner has checked Sahashwala's closet, so that's a full 9 items in the eastern area. I have no doubt that Wolfie is going to go and probably take a look at that before thinking about Aghanim.
And Moldorm goes down pretty quickly for Wolfie and gets 5 rupees for his trouble, and picks up that red pendant.
And knows that it was a good play. It means that the small key is locking itself in the basement, and the big chest only has the map.
Wolfie will also go to turn in that shovel, it looks like.
And I imagine similarly, we'll leave that shield on the ground where it belongs.
I'm personally I do pick up as many shields as I can, but that's 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 just me.
I will skip one shield if I can. I like the fire shield. I do not like the mirror shield.
That's fair enough. And Furious getting the news about the shield, and Wolfie going to turn in his bottle.
Looks like Furious is going to walk to Eastern rather than fluting to 5. I guess maybe wants to check Sahasrah's closet first. Does not have the advantage of that Eastern Palace big key that Wolfie found in Tower of Hera.
That's a good point. And Wolfie looks like is checking the hobo first.
Yep, not too bad of a check with the flippers, of course, and the flute to make it a bit quicker.
And the closet only having a little bit of money, a couple arrows. Nothing, no items, unfortunately, for Furious. And Wolfie just picking up 20 rupees from the hobo.
Now, once Furious clears as much of Eastern as he can, obviously it depends. If we find a glove and a hammer in here, that it's a moot point. But will probably make his way back up the mountain to take care of Tower of Hera or follow Wolfie into these flipper checks. It does mean that he's going to have to potentially double dip Eastern Palace without that big key.
And while it is an easy dungeon, being the first dungeon in the game, it's a little bit more tedious than some of the others. But Wolfie is checking that waterfall cave and gets half of a total heart container with those 2 heart pieces.
A little bit surprised he did not check the fairy bottle refill at that time.
And it looks like it is just a piece of heart over on that ledge. So Wolfie will leave from there. Furious just getting a map right from that second check in Eastern. And Wolfie is now...
Sorry.
Sorry. And now Wolfie is making his way over to Eastern.
And welcome, Raiders from Speed Gaming 2. You are joining us 20 minutes into today's daily Link to the Past randomizer race. We are running a mystery seed. So far, what we know is it's an open mode with wild big keys, wild compasses. We do not have a hard item pool. We do not have any wild small keys. There is no entrance. The goal is still to be determined.
Right, and with Wolfie making his way into Eastern, we'll probably have we'll be able to complete this dungeon at least on this first go. So that will be an advantage.
We'll have to see what Furious does after Eastern. I imagine we'll do the flipper checks, may try to farm up for Zora money. He might be tempted to go to Aga rather than reclimbing the mountain again to do Hera.
And with those 5 rupees in that last check, Furious will be traveling over back to Link's house.
This does look like it is going to be flipper checks. Is not grinding for rupees right now. May hope that he finds rupees along the way. Fortunately, we know he's not going to do that, and that will mean both runners have Orphan Zora.
And that bug net over on the island, would you anticipate our racers going to pick that up, or would it go the same way as the shield?
Nah, they're not going to bother picking it up at this point. There is no convenient way to route that in nicely, and it doesn't save any time along the way.
All right, and the Canaberna being in that big chest in Eastern.
Another nice to have item, that one is an invincibility item in logic, which means that once we find our hammering glove, that will give us access to Spike Cave. But then again, once we get the glove, we'll have logical access to the cave. Oh no, sorry, the cape was in the map chest. Yeah, we already have logical access to both of them. Never mind.
But in case you can have your choice of which invincibility would you like? Would you like to be invisible? Would you like to be able to attack as well? And Furious does check that fairy and gets a B for his troubles.
And there is a good point from Ken in chat. Why aren't they just rushing Aga? Because one of the most important things in mystery is to find out the goal. You want to find out if it's all dungeons or pedestal as quick as you can. So there is a value in rushing Aga, even though they have all these other checks open. And it looks like that's what Furious may be doing. Probably going to go check Dark Cross and then mirror out and climb Aga Tower.
And that is indeed what Furious Magic will be doing.
All right, Wolfie on his way to Armos with a little bit better than vanilla equipment. A Master Sword isn't going to help much on the Armos fight, but luckily we have a fantastic bow and plenty of arrows, setting up for the quick kill in the top right corner. Gets it easy every time. There's your Zora money.
And there's that green pendant. Very nice quick kill. And Furious picks up the red boomerang in Dark Cross. That can be a little bit more useful, but
You don't have to lie.
fine. At least it's something. It could be worse. It could be a green rupee. It could be a unique item.
Fair enough. The red boomerang used to have the excuse that, hey, at least it makes menuing easier, but now that we allow quick swap in races, it doesn't have that anymore. It can have its uses, but for the most part, I don't imagine that there's going to be much use for the red boomerang this seed.
But the quick medallion from that green pendant turn-in, that is definitely far more interesting. That'll be a good find.
So there's a question in chat what the pedestal chance is. It is a 10% chance, which is the same chance as all dungeons. So, there's a 20% chance that we will need to get both of those pendants regardless. And we do know that we will need at least one medallion for Misery Mire or Turtle Rock if it's a crystal seed. And Quake could very well be that medallion.
And as Furious climbs the tower, Wolfie descends deeper into the castle. And we'll pick up that cape.
Aga Tower, unfortunately, is, on one hand, it's a very good showcase of execution runners. There's really no RNG in the climb. There's no chests to open. It's all about what strats do you know to take care of the guards, to optimize movement. The one little bit of RNG is right through these next couple of doors. And that is about Aga's pattern. Of course, Aghanim is famous for throwing his magical orbs around. Some orbs we can reflect, some we don't. They come in a particular pattern. And of course, the non-reflecting ones are the most annoying. And the question is, how many of these blue balls are we going to get from the Wizard Aghanim today? Anywhere from 0 to 15. Get your guesses in chat. Sorcerer, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's going to be, I'm guessing just one today.
I like playing the law of averages. I'll go with 3, but we get first chance at a blue ball is a reflection on hit number 2.
And so far, this is looking like a good pattern, and I just ruined that.
Get your calm curses in chat. Wolfie gonna get his similar red boomerang from that chest, realizes he doesn't have a small key to continue, and will be following Furious up the tower. It's a somewhat good thing that it doesn't hurt too badly that both of these runners orphaned Zora. They will be able to mirror and take care of that after the Aghanim kill, walking past Catfish and mirroring. There's nothing that Zora could have given them that would give them direct Dark World access. The best thing they could have gotten was a glove that gave them the back of escape. But we are going to see our goals.
And it will be all 7, and it is not fast Ganon.
No, indeed. So we've got...
Congratulations, it was 3 blue balls for the Aga kill, so GG.
And this mystery, other than the wild compasses and wild big keys, is rolling very vanilla today. See that our 5-6 crystals are Misery Mire and Pod, and I did not catch the last pendant.
The last pendant is in Thieves Town.
Oh, you're right. We do need a glove to get to Catfish. I completely forgot. So Furious is just going to bypass that and go over to the West Dark World.
As Wolfie makes his climb up, making short work of those guards. And there we go. I'm sorry.
Yep. No, go ahead. Yeah, getting a good climb from Wolfie as we try to get Furious's stream back up. We'll see if he follows in Furious's footsteps or if he decides to step inside of Pod. We do know that Pod is going to be a crystal, and going in there without a hammer kind of feels bad. Otherwise, you'd be able to complete it. But Pod is at least 7 obtainable items without that hammer.
That is a very nice cache of potential treasure there. And I was going to remark that the red boomerang, it looks like, has come in use for both of these runners during this climb. And there we go. We've restarted again for Furious. Looks like starting back from the pyramid and making the same swim up.
Wonder if that might have been a temporary stream drop. And yeah, gonna go back hookshot across to the West Dark World. We can take a look at Graveyard Ledge, Bumper Ledge. We can peek inside Skull Woods, and so who likes Pendant Thieves Town in 7 Crystal Seed?
That's definitely going to be an interesting dilemma that our runners will have, and they might pull the first 4 chests out of Thieves Town just because they're relatively, it is item dense, but will they full clear? I guess will be the question. Because also at this point, what could be on pedestal?
That's a good question. I mean, it could be either of our gloves. The main thing that's keeping Ped out of logic is going to be that Thievestown big key. So we don't really need to think about Ped until we find that. But yeah, there's a lot of possibilities at that point.
And pedestal seeds are certainly more fun when it turns out that yeah, you do need to go to the pedestal to complete the seed. No pressure or anything.
Furious without the fire rod is not going to the back of Skull Woods to do that mirror and check the pedestal. And Wolfie gonna go and stock up on potions, which is a good plan because the Waterfall Fairy, as we saw from Furious Magic, only gave us a B, and we are a long ways away from being able to check the Pyramid Fairy.
Unfortunately, these first couple checks not panning out for Furious. Uh, and looking to get that, there's that clip for the hook shot, being able to grab onto that one block, but only getting 20 rupees for his troubles.
Oh, and here's a check that either we missed or didn't see from Furious. Well, it is possible that maybe what happened with Furious is that he did this check and then accidentally jumped off the ledge. And that's why we saw him swimming back again.
That's a good point. In which case we will, and it is just 20 rupees, which Wolfie will pick up because now it's only 7 rupees separating Wolfie from being able to check Zora.
Furious going straight into Thieves Town. And we will see these first 4 checks unless that all necessary big key is required to go on.
And with that early small key, that that Furious does have to be a little bit more careful because both of our runners are still on green mail.
Unfortunately, I did not get a look at what was in the ambush chest. Luckily for Furious at this point, a death isn't too bad because he'll just end up at the front and it's about the same distance either way. Wolfie is going to follow Furious's route and is going to do the couple of checks in Skull Woods. And doesn't look like the front of Thievestown gave us anything in particular. Furious is going to go and take a Death Warp.
And both of our runners being tantalizingly close to the 500 rupees. Wolfie with 494, Furious just 2 rupees short. Well, 32 rupees short here in a second.
And thank you to our tracker, Arteril, for noticing that there was nothing great in the ambush chest, but what are those?
That is a wonderful find. Those boots will make short work of running around, I suppose.
Now, a question that might be going through Furious's mind is to go back up to North Dark World and take care of those 2 boots checks. But is opting not to and is going to go and do the South Dark World route, hoping that he finds Hammer along the way to make his path back to that North Dark World a little bit quicker.
Now we're starting a little bit late, being 6 digs in, and it looks like in just 6 digs you do get a big key. And the big key for Swamp Palace, that will be one of those. That will be a nice couple a nice check that you'll be able to make along your way, and thank goodness you don't need to go diving for it after the fact.
Now there is a slight question in Furious's head. You're making your way down over to Height Cave, doing these mirror checks. There's one item that you can get in Swamp Palace. Do you go in there? What do you think, Finch?
I I think that it would be worth the dive in. I think it would be worth the dive in if things are getting more desperate, but I think yeah, I'm honestly not sure. I probably would avoid it, just because it is more limited. It takes a little bit of time to set up. We still don't have without that hammer. But this is going to be another good check right here by Furious, checking Hype Cave.
Good 5 items in here, hopefully. Hoping to see some easier Dark World access.
Speaking of, there are our power gloves. There was an ether medallion. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate that mind?
That's a pretty solid 7, maybe even an 8. But if anything, that increases my want to go into Swamp Palace, because without a hammer, it is really tricky to get back to Swamp. You need to do that full loop again. So if Bongo's tablet does not give you that hammer, I absolutely would go into Swamp and check that one chest. But Furious is going to save and quit. And we'll see if he decides to do Hera or if he's going to go and check the back of Escape. And Wolfie taking those boots, doing those boots checks now.
And now comfortably into Zora money range. So not only is that the money, that will be enough money to take care of, I believe, the rest of the required money sinks in the game with Zora and with Kiki.
Absolutely. And Wolfie will see the King's Tomb check. Furious will have to go back into the Dark World to enable to do that, but we will see 3 new checks from Furious over here.
Oh,
One
you're
of them will
right.
be the small key.
And there are the other gloves that Wolfie just picked up.
Oh no. So Furious is going to have to dive back into the Dark World to get those, unless he gets bailed out with a hammer down here.
Oh no. But that's okay. There's still plenty of places, it looks like, for the hammer to still be. There's still, I don't think they're quite running out of checks yet, which is to their advantage.
No, not entirely, but they're not great checks at the moment. They have Pod, which we can't complete, and we can't get the big chest. And the only other check that Furious has is Hera, which he would have to climb the mountain again and get really frustrated when he sees that Eastern big key, and we'll have to double dip Eastern. There is Catfish Zora, of course.
And speaking of, there is still a mystery. We don't know how many crystals we need to get into Ganon's tower.
And we will not know that until Wolfie makes his way up the mountain with those Titan's mitts.
Now, with Ganon already requiring 7 crystals to beat, would you anticipate our runners checking earlier, or just, hey, we picked up the 7 crystals, let's just go ahead and go for it?
It's a good question. It really depends, because if Ganon's tower requires less than 7 crystals, there is a reasonable chance that the item that we need to complete that last crystal, including one of those big keys, could be inside Ganon's tower.
And in mystery, it does look like it is a minimum of 3 crystals, and it's not a great chance for 3 or 4. Um, for 5, 6, 7, the chances do get higher and higher, and Wolfie will be picking up that big key as well.
And Furious finding the big key to Thieves Town in pod. So that does mean that a early pod dip may have paid off. But then again, we did also find the small key in the front of Thieves Town, which implies there's an item in the big chest, so who even knows? All right, Furious making his way to the bow side, get a nice fetch quest in the powder. Once he grabs his Titan's mitts, he will be able to check that at the magic bat.
And the powder is also one of those nice safety items where, as you're climbing Ganon's tower and RNG hasn't been on your side, just the ability to make a little bit of health for you, it can help a lot. It can make the climb a little bit nicer. But Wolfie going ahead and picking up his hype chest items with that ether medallion, those Titan's mitts.
Yeah, good pair of finds. Wolfie will very likely not dive into Swamp at this point because he has all of Dark Death Mountain to check out. And there is our third shield in the basement. So Furious Magic, despite his best efforts, does end up with the fire shield.
And good key logic right there by Furious as well. Missing out on the Harmless Hellway to be able to miss out on the key for a key.
Yep, and he does know that the vanilla big key chest will also have to be a small key at this point. Can't check the big chest. Going to have to leave at this point. Is mirroring, which means not going to be checking Catfish at this point. And oh my, Wolfie is gonna go and check that one item in Skull in Swamp. I was not expecting that. I was expecting that with Furious since he had much fewer places to check.
But this could be where the hammer is. You never know.
It could be a hammer. It could be a required big key that leads to Warhammer. Like that pod big key. What if we had vanilla hammer? Wouldn't that be wild?
Oh my goodness, that even though many of the settings have been vanilla, there is just something about something frustratingly wonderful about a vanilla hammer.
Swamp is not the answer this time, and Furious Magic gonna go through and will be getting his pendant from Tower of Hera, which may still be necessary for whatever may or may not be on pedestal. We do know that we don't require the pendants for any of our goals, but we're going to get some more info from Wolfie into what is at the Mire area. It is indeed ether to get in, so that back of escape required.
And unfortunately, Mire Shed not having too much right there, but there are at least being able to tick off 3 checks right here between the checkerboard cave and the Mire chest. Oh, and Furious hitting that bumper and dropping down to the next level.
There was a comment in chat about needing the GT Big Key. We actually already have that. Both runners got that early from the Desert Ledge. And Wolfie now, gonna go and check all those items up on Dark Death Mountain, and we will likely see what our GT entry requirements are. So, what are you hoping to see up here on the Mountain Finch? Are you hoping for easier Dark World access, or maybe that pod big, or looking for maybe the Mire big, because that would be a full clearable dungeon?
Having the Mire big is honestly that sounds the most appealing to me from a let's just go to every single corner. Let's go from all the way across the world, shall we? And Furious making a good use of that cape right there.
Really on the fly strats to avoid getting knocked off by Moldorm.
And Moldorm does go down. And there is that red pendant for Furious.
And speak of the devil, there is that pod big key. Okay, all right. I unfortunately I can't double task here, but chat. How many of you would like to see a vanilla hammer now?
And Wolfie making a good check here. While you're here. Oh, and there's the big key for Desert.
All right, another clearable crystal. 2 more items in there. And Wolfie gonna go peek over at TR. And it is Bombo, so we will need 1 more medallion in order to clear that seed, the seed. And now running over to West Dark Death Mountain.
And only 5 crystals needed to enter GT. That will probably add a nice thought into our runners' minds. When do I go, or when does Wolfie go to Ganon's Tower?
I don't know if it's a nice thought. That's the problem. When it's 5 crystals, that could very well mean that one of or both of Bombos or Fire Rod could be in there.
And with Bombos, Bombos being required, and the Fire Rod could also be in Turtle Rock as well. So that these are going to be, we're going to have some very interesting decisions coming up. Furious going ahead and going to Zora and picking up a unique item.
Oh, single
not,
arrow, womp womp.
or not picking up the that unique item right there.
And get that big key for Tower of Hera. We do know it is only the map in there, so not particularly useful, but Wolfie will be making his way to Lanmolas. And Furious now going to be doing that loop once again over to King's Tomb, getting his Titan's Mitts, and kind of kicking himself that he didn't do those boots checks while he was back in the Dark World.
And looking in chat, that would indeed be a very rude location for the Fire Rod in the lava chest.
I mean, the most rude thing, of course, would be, Bombos at the top of Ganon's Tower for Fire Rod on Cold Stare. No, couldn't have that, because that would mean that 3 crystals are locked by Ganon's Tower, not just 2.
That's fair, but Furious picking up his Titan's Mitts, so that will be
a little moment there of, oh, really? And we'll see if he does Mountain first or Mire first. Oh, looks like he is gonna go and maybe follow that Thieves' Town big key.
And Wolfie making quick work of Lanmolas. Picking up that crystal.
Okay, Furious looking to turn in the Smith chain and probably check powder along with that. He probably feels a little behind, knowing that he could have gotten those Titan mitts a bit earlier, but only a little. It's interesting. And Wolfie gonna go and dive Mire. He is avoiding Pod, which we know is a relatively good play, but he does have the big key now.
And the Rupee Smith's just having those. Uh, the Rupee Smith's just having 50. Furious is going to go ahead and pick up that chest and mirror over to check on the Magic Bat to see what the Magic Bat curses him with.
I'm really not sure about this Mire play for Wolfie versus looking at Pod. Neither of them are completable, but I feel like you can get items a bit quicker in Pod. But it's a tough call. It really is a tough call.
And Furious does pick up some Mountain Dew Code Red from the bat.
And we got a key loaded front of Mire. And Furious is living up to his namesake with that lunchbox find. Furious is going to go and check the Mire area and get the similar information. We'll see if he also does the mountain checks right away, or if he decides to clear that green pendant eastern. He does know that there are 2 items left behind in there, as well as whatever the green pendant turns in. We know that they are not necessary, but he may have a slight bit of hope when he sees the Quake drop, and then disappointment when he sees that TR requires Bombos.
And Wolfie doing a nice setup for the for lighting the torches here. Remembering that he does not have the fire rod. I know I would absolutely go to start pushing one and do the lamp, and then sheepishly start pushing the other torches, the other blocks out of the way.
Ooh, and Furious at least is opening Mire and maybe following Wolfie in. This could be really good if the hammer is here in Mire. It would catch Furious up quite closely. Neither of them, however, have that big key, will not be able to complete the dungeon or check the big chest. So really, the only mystery left in this seed is the more standard rando seed questions. Where are our items, and how late are we going to find them? And the one other thing that mystery could throw our way is our progression for our last 2 crystals locked in 5 Crystal Ganon's Tower?
And Wolfie bailing on Mr. Meyer after getting the bad news about there being not any more accessible items. But at this point, Wolfie will go ahead and it looks like. Let's see, what is. So I guess Wolfie is going to go to Pod, I suppose, next.
Absolutely. That's about all he has left at this point. Actually, thinking about it, I think back at Thieves Town is, or the pedestal is where our progression has to be now. because we already saw Catfish and Zora from Furious. We also saw all of Pod minus. Well, no, Wolfie will have one other check in Pod. He will have the Pod Big Chest. So it's either Pod Big Chest, Thieves Town, or Pedestal, which are all pretty gross.
This is definitely well the settings have certainly ended up being more vanilla. The item placements so far have definitely been more trolly after starting out relatively all right.
I mean, when you find a sword in Link's house, that's a pretty nice start. But then you freak out a little bit when you see that cape right there in the escape, and then you calm down for a bit, and oh no, there's a lamp on the mountain, and you could have gone to Aga within the first 5 minutes of this seed. You take that sword, you flute up the mountain, you get your lamp, you do escape. Oh look, there's the cape. Let's go to Aga.
All right, and Wolfie opting not to pick up the single arrow, which when you can't even hold the arrow, you're already at 30 arrows. I mean, it would just, where else would it go?
Link would still stand triumphantly with it. It's like, look, I got a stick. Oh, I guess I'll just throw it in the trash here. I can't carry any more sticks. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mr. Zora.
And the stick has feathers on the back of it. And it does look like Wolfie might be. It looks like Wolfie will be going to Thieves Town. No, he will not.
He is going to also do the Smith chain. Does not have the powder because that was in Pod. But Wolfie really reluctant to go into Pod without the hammer.
Unfortunately, we do know that while another bottle would certainly be handy for Wolfie, it is not progression. The magic bat does not have progression.
And Fury is going to go do his mountain checks, get that knowledge about 5 crystal GT. And we're just waiting for who is going to go back into Thieves Town. At this point, it has to be Furious, so we're just going to wait for him to complete his mountain checks. And Wolfie to catch up and grab that Thieves Town big key out of Pod. And no, I keep forgetting that we still do have the Pod big chest. That is a possibility. Where are you thinking, Finch? Do you feel that, vanilla hammer in Pod, or is it the dream of, the double dip Thieves Town into pedestal dream?
So my thought is that the big chest in Thieves Town will be the fire rod and vanilla hammer.
Oh, okay. So both of them would be required. And the order would be a little annoying if you did Pod first.
And yeah, ped mushroom to the hammer would certainly be that would be the trolliest, I think, order of events.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of Ped Hammer with Bombos in the Thieves Town big chest. And Fire Rod at the top of GT.
Ooh, that would be... Because with the Fire Rod, that would...
Fire Rod only locks Swamp Pal or Skull Woods and Turtle Rock. And the runners may decide that, hey, I've got Bombos. Fire Rod could be in Turtle Rock. Let's dive in. Well, we have a little bit of time here as our runners are checking out different parts of the map that we have already seen here before. So let's do a little bit of a recap. We were running mystery settings from season 3 of the league. We have a open mode 5-7 defeat Ganon with wild big keys and wild compasses. So I would invite both of you, for all of you to follow both of you. There's a few more than 2 people watching. I would invite all of you to give these runners a follow, show them some support for, agreeing to be on Restream, watch them practice, see their commentary on what they're thinking, and not just, like what we're thinking that they're thinking.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking of what they're thinking?
I'm thinking that they're thinking that I wish that this was an entrance seed.
And Furious picking up that Hera big key.
Hopefully also has done the item math in his head and realizes that that is going to be just a map. And no, Hera big chest cannot be a thing. We did not get the small key or the map out of Hera. So small key is locked in the basement and the map is in the big chest.
And Wolfie trying to set up the hammer yump. And does get it. And there is the fire rod. Well, it's not the hammer. That is a good placement for that item.
That is really fantastic. That's 2 more completable crystals. We'll be able to complete both Skullwoods as well as Ice Palace. That's a lot. Well, no, not Ice Palace. We can go inside Ice Palace and get most of the items, except for one. And a second one we can get out of Logic.
And Furious does take down the Land Molus to get their first crystal. And that is one of the other interesting things. We're an hour, 5 minutes into the seed, and only 1 crystal so far.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got the wild big keys, although it's not the big keys that are gating us, it was really the Dark World access, and it's the hammer.
So at some point, and now that Wolfie does have that fire rod,
Wolfie, where are you going? You do not have a hammer. Oh, Wolfie, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the disappointment you're about to face.
So probably then the next place to check would probably be to finish up Skull Woods and be able to check that pedestal just to make sure of what that is.
Oh, absolutely. That is 100% the play. Skull Woods, check ped, and then dive Ice Palace.
And Furious is right on his heels, going to collect that fire rod as well.
Yeah, so our runners have made most of the same checks. Furious has avoided going into Eastern, which we know that there's nothing essential in there that he's missing. Furious did an early dive of Eastern without the Eastern big key. The Eastern big chest has the Cane of Burna, which we do not need since we have the cape if Spike Cave is required. And Armos themselves had the Quake Medallion, which is not required this seed.
Oh, and Furious, unfortunately, falling for the hammer yump, but looks like try again.
Yep, it's always faster to try this again if you know that you can get it fairly consistently. Oh, he might just opt for he's just opting for the maze this time around. And Wolfie gonna go into Skullwoods itself before checking Ped. Not a bad call.
Either way, clear up the Mothula fight. Go ahead and picking up that item. While it's not a good item, it is still that little peace of mind.
I do not believe that we have seen the map here in Skullwoods. Now, the map could be in the Skullwoods big chest that we do not have access to. And I believe there's also a spare small key floating around.
And it does look like Furious will be following in Wolfie's footsteps. After grabbing that fire rod, going up and gonna go ahead and take care of Mothula.
Okay, our tracker article is saying that we have found all 3 small keys in Skullwoods, so there is an item either on Mothula or in the big chest. All right, Wolfie pulling out that potion, and there is the last item in Skullwoods. Piece of heart to bring Wolfie up to 13. And we are going to see a mirror and yet some pedestal hype in chat. All right, what do we got? Do we have treasure or do we have trash? Is it my precious or my...
So silvers.
Okay, so somebody did say silvers earlier. Let me go take a look. It was Keskenmino who said silvers on Ped. So congratulations, your guess is right. But our runners will not be getting that. Both of these runners are very experienced at Silverless Ganon. Unless for some reason they're required to kill blind for some other item. And Wolfie may be doing that right now.
And also, now that I'm thinking as an open question, well, I'm curious where the tempered sword may be, because, well, I'm sure that our runners would absolutely go ahead and do a silverless Master Sword Ganon, but having tempered sword is kind of nice.
Tempered is very nice. It's always preferable to a Master Sword Ganon fight with or without silvers. I would say at this point, very likely it's both of the other 2 swords are in Ganon's Tower or in Turtle Rock. And Fury's gonna go and finish up Eastern. Gonna be kind of disappointed with what he finds in there, but does mean that he is also likely to clear Thieves Town and get those silvers. But, you know, from Furious's point of view, this makes a lot of sense. He knows there's 3 items that he's left behind in there. Any one of those 3 could have been the hammer.
That's an excellent point. And yeah, the hammer is going to be that's going to be, I think, between that, and I think it's just that and Bombos at this point for go mode.
Also, the Misery Mire Big Key.
You're absolutely right.
All right. And I think I saw a map there on Wolfie's screen, so there is an item in the Thieves Town big chest. So I'm not sure why he didn't check it.
Without the hammer.
Oh, of course. That's what I just said.
Now, if blind, I wa- I know that it's a random for. I know that blind's line is random, but what if blind did have the hammer?
In this seed, since we did find the small key wasn't locked in itself. Blind can 100% have the hammer in the seed, and Wolfie will have to go all the way through the dungeon again. But no, we we have a 3 dungeon item thieves down. But Wolfie's gonna go and grab those silver arrows, and I guess off to Ice Palace. Ew.
And now that I'm thinking about it, grabbing those silvers isn't too bad because you also do get a much quicker, a much easier Vitreous fight. Especially since our runners still have Master Sword. Um, Master Sword Vitreous is not a fun fight.
Although it's not too bad. We have half magic. We've got boots. There's a lot of fun strats that you can use for Master Sword Vidi. You can soften them up with bombs as well. And Fury is about to get the bad news that no, Eastern was in fact nothing.
And
Although he hasn't done his mountain checks yet, so he may be holding out hope that, oh, maybe that quake is required for Turtle Rock, but will be disappointed in about 2 minutes. But no, he's going to go do Ice Palace. He has not climbed the mountain. He does not know that it's 5 crystals for GT. He does not know that Turtle Rock requires Bombos. So we're going to see a synced Ice Palace here.
and imagine finding Bombos in Ice Palace and then going up the mountain and thinking, and that feeling of I did things in the right order is that's a wonderful feeling for speed racing for.
And you know what? I'm called out once again by our fabulous tracker Artle. I got commentator's brain. I got very excited. I'm sorry. Furious has done the mountain, so they are equal in checks with the exception of Thievestown at this point. Be warned of the dangers of commentator brain. You may spout nonsense without meaning it.
I think earlier I said, oh, and just finished up just the second crystal when at the time the runners only had one. It is all good.
And here we see divergence between somebody who knows Icebreaker and somebody who doesn't. So Furious will be able to get this one check that would require the hammer nominally. Could potentially be Bombos, but it is just bombs. Both runners will have to abandon whatever is in this Stelphos room that is hard locked by the hammer. Oh, interesting. So Wolfie just stole a key and is going to go then do Icebreaker after. And there is the hammer in the freezer room.
And now Furious is just Misery Mire, Big Key, and the Bombos away from go mode.
And it's very likely that hammer. So there's a lot of awful hammer checks all around. There's the Thievestown Big Chest. There's Spike Cave. There's, obviously the boss of Pod. Anything else hammer locked? Oh, obviously all of Swamp Palace. Swamp Palace is going to be the next play for both of these runners, I imagine.
And at this point, Bombos could also be in Ganon's Tower as well.
Yeah, or it could be in that one hammerlock chest here in Ice Palace and required a Ice Palace double dip.
But Wolfie is going to go ahead and check out what that chest is. And there is that Bombos. That is Wolfie is just one item away from go mode, just one key away from go mode.
Dang, how about that? That was worth it. All right, so the question now is, does Furious go back into Ice Palace to check that one chest? Really nice cold stare fight by Furious. But as nice as you can get with Master Sword and Half Magic. Kind of got away from him, though.
For a split second, but after pulling out the hammer, there is the Tempered Sword. So Cold Stare still having a nice item. So Ice Palace really being a fantastic place to go. This was definitely where all of our progression nearly was. And Furious is dipping back into Ice Palace. It looks like to check that last chest, and it'll be a doozy.
So then the only question is left. Where is that Mystery Mire Big Key? Is it in Turtle Rock? Or is it in Thieves Town? Or is it on the Pod Boss? Is it in Swamp Palace?
Is it in Ganon's Tower? Is it? We still have a good number of checks, and unfortunately, Wolfie not getting Cold Stare into the corner, but still making very quick work with that fire rod.
So I think that Wolfie will probably clear Pod and Swamp first, hoping to find the Mire Big, and if he doesn't, then he'll go and dip into Turtle Rock.
And our racers, having pulled all the items out, nearly simultaneously leaving ice, and we'll see where everyone flutes to.
All right, we got some nice sync going on here. Both of them are going to do Pod. I imagine both of them will do Swamp afterwards, because that's where our item density is. Wolfie will have a slight advantage in Swamp, since he did check that one chest early. And Wolfie's path didn't really end up slower, because he did go back into Thieves Town and killed Blind, but has not picked up the silver arrows from the pedestal.
And at this point, with Tempered Sword especially, I'm not sure that our racers do go back to get those silver arrows. Just it is a little bit further. It is a little bit further away at this point.
Yeah, at this point, the with Tempered Sword, the time save that you'll get with those silver arrows isn't really worth the time to go get them. And we even had a little bit of sync with both of them missing the crystal and having to start again. All right, Wolfie back into the basement now, has that hammer, can progress all the way through. Sorry, you were saying something?
Oh, right. I was just Furious picking up those couple of arrows. Had actually run out, or nearly run out. Just had one remaining in the quiver. It's one of those things that you never think about the arrows until you need them, and fortunately, we're still a good ways away from Ganon's Tower, probably at this point. But Wolfie going ahead and working on Helmasaur.
17 hits with the hammer, and then a spinneroonie with your sword. Spinneroonie, couple slashes. Going for slashes, and let's see what the king holds for us today. A vanilla heart container. Thank you, Helmasaur. And yeah, I would say that Wolfie has the execution advantage. I would say, just considering the way that they went through pod and Wolfie getting a good, almost 30-second lead. I'd say the one thing that could help Furious is if the Meyer Big Key is in some little place that Wolfie decides to not check. Like if, for instance, if Wolfie decides if we don't get the Meyer Big in Swamp, if he decides to skip Spike Cave, or if, Spike Cave is pretty much all that there is left. Or if Furious goes and full clears Thieves Town while Wolfie dips TR.
Right. And at this point, it's also only one more crystal until Ganon's Tower is available. Furious going up the mountain. That will
That's a bold play there. Is going to now have a required double climb up the mountain. Actually, no, because he'll have 5 crystals. He'll be able to, once he clears TR, which he can do, he'll be able to then climb Ganon's Tower. This is a really great move. This is a great move by Furious, because then if Meyer Big is in Ganon's Tower, he's set. It doesn't matter.
Right. This, I think, is going to be where the race... I think this is going to end up being where the race is. Is the Big Key in Swamp, or is it in Turtle Rock? Or Turtle Rock or Ganon's Tower?
Or that Thieves Town Big Chest, or Spike Cave.
Or
lots of little places around. But Furious has everything he needs to clear Turtle Rock. Will not quite be able to go mode it, even if we get preferential key layouts. Almost at that point, you're hoping for a vanilla big key so that, you're not thinking that, oh, I wish I could have skipped that chest. Or alternately, he hopes to find, like Meyer Big in one of these 2 chests here, and then the point is moot.
Very true. And it looks like Wolfie is setting up for Diver Down.
Do not be alarmed if you haven't watched Rando in the past year. He has indeed flooded the key, but it is not irreversible. With some nice pixel movements with the Cane of Samaria, we can just kind of wedge ourselves into that rail, jump over the one tile that is actually water, and just run along the ground.
And executed very well. So able to pick up that key that had gotten flooded. So Wolfie continues on.
And we are small key flooded at the front of Turtle Rock, 3 of the 4 in there. I'd have to laugh if the 4th one is here in the Chain Chomp room. But it is a heart container. Left side swamp. We'll see. Does this have our Misery Mire Big Key?
compass of the light world equivalent is nearly there, but
Close, but just no. Try again. All right, Furious will not be stealing the key from this vanilla big key chest. Aw, what a cute Lapras bunny sprite. Oh no, it was the map.
aw.
It feels like there has been a lot of maps in Big Chest's seed.
There really have been. There really have been. And Wolfie getting a couple of rupees. Out from there, doing another nice diver down. And then heading to face Argus.
And we do know that Argus will have an item. There's no small keys in chest. There's only one small key in Chespin Swamp. We've already seen that. And well, of course, we've already seen the map. I mean, I suppose you could get like the Ganon's Tower compass. I don't think we've seen that one yet.
Right, we don't know where Aghanim is. Again, we have no idea where he is. He could be anywhere in Ganon's Tower, from the top floor to, well, okay, the top floor.
I mean, maybe he's in Tile Room. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool if Aghanim randomized his position in Ganon's Tower?
That'd be something.
That's a big key.
Oh.
Oh, all right. We got baited into excitement there, but that's one more spot where the Misery Mire big key could be.
It very well could be, and if you're already in that area, now it's not where the item density is, but do you then go and pick up those silvers if they're right there? And unfortunately, we don't know what was in the Mimic Cave.
Mimic Cave was nothing, but I don't think we'll see the big chest. I'm just gonna go and check. No, on Furious's own stream, he has not marked that Misery Mire big key. So he will still be looking for that over here on Laser Bridge.
Meanwhile, it does look like Wolfie will be now either going into Turtle Rock, or do you go into Ganon's Tower?
No, you do Turtle Rock first, because you don't want to have to climb the mountain again. Just in case that Misery Mire big key is at the top of Ganon's Tower, in one of those 4 chests. You want to minimize the amount of rerouting that you could potentially have, or rerunning that you potentially have to do. So clear TR while you're here. Then it doesn't matter if the big key is right in the basement of Ganon's Tower or at the top. You're good to go.
Okay. All right, and Furious about to head into that Trinex fight.
Laser Bridge did not have our answer. Half Magic Tempered should be a pretty straightforward fight. Quick swap, very easy to swap rods before the explosion freezes your menu.
And while there was a little bit of ice on the ground, Furious be making short work of Trinex, and down Trinex goes.
And that will be crystal number 6 for Furious Magic, and he is going to make his way into Ganon's Tower. Only the single rupee on Trinex itself. We are still looking for that Misery Mire big key for our 7th crystal. Ganon's Tower, this seed only requires 5 to enter, so that Misery Mire Big Key, a couple places left for it. It could be in any of the 27 chests of Ganon's Tower. It could be in Spike Cave. It could be in the Skullwoods Big Chest, or it could be in the Thieves Town Big Chest.
Oh, you're absolutely right. We hadn't checked that one yet. And yeah, Furious having the 5 crystals, because Furious does still have Swamp to do as well.
Yes,
But
I got excited. I was just thinking, oh, Furious is going to do Swamp and not find Misery Mire Big, la la la.
And we'll go ahead and have our first dive into Ganon's Tower. We already know that the GT Big Key guessing game, if you guessed the Desert Ledge in the Light World, you would have been correct.
That was about check 20 or so. Furious going to go left. I imagine this will be a full left all the way to the GT Big Key chest, or GT Big Chest itself.
And we do say a fond farewell to Bob, with Furious picking up the key off of the torch. Our favorite little glitched sprite known as Bob, unfortunately, will not be making an appearance today.
I'm a little surprised Furious didn't do Hope route. I think when you're one item from Go, Hope makes sense, but I suppose if you're used to routing GT in this way, this might just be your standard GT routing, and nice use of using the inferior boomerang to hit those switches. And for those of you that are just coming in, we're about 90 minutes into this seed. Both runners are one item from Go mode, looking for the Mire Big Key. Settings ended up being 5, 7, open defeat Ganon, with wild big keys and compasses. And that wild Mire Big is causing our runners some consternation.
And where could it be? There are still a good number of places for it to be, and all of them. I suppose the Thieves Town Big Key chest and the Skull Woods Big Key or Big Chest. Sorry, both big chests. At least they're close together, but.
Well, they are and they aren't. In terms of the overworld, they are, but you've got to do a lot of navigation around in the dungeons themselves to get it. But both of these runners are hoping to find Misery Mire Big Key right here in Ganon's Tower.
And a good move by Furious to remember that we can check the big chest. Unfortunately, just having 20 rupees, but. And Bob leaves his estate to Furious with those 300 rupees.
On to Ice Armos for Furious. Much like the first, just set up that quick kill in the lower right corner. Just barely misses it.
And does have to be a little bit cautious with arrows. And we could find an arrow drop up here, but with a required couple arrows. And there's our first mail upgrade in the basement of Ganon's Tower. There's blue mail for Furious.
He's a shiny Lapras now. All right, doing the right-hand side. Not sure what that green 20 could have been. Oh, I know. That's the flute. That's not the flute, but that is the consequence of starting with flute.
Oh, okay. So the flute gets replaced with a 20 rupee.
Yeah, and that green 20 gets shuffled as a junk item. No surprise, Furious checking the tile room. As Wolfie gets his green rupee and will be making his way over to Ganon's tower. Oh, well, it's a dungeon item for Meyer.
It certainly is. Just so tantalizingly close. Like, just you get the feeling that the big key should be somewhere so close by.
All right, we're down to 4 checks here in the basement and 4 checks on the climb.
And for Furious, because Furious does also still have Swamp, so that would also be a good play. Now we know that it's not going to have the big key, but that's going to be where the item density is probably going to lead him.
And since his stream is frozen, I will just double check his own personal item tracker, and he does not have the Misery Mire Big Key on there. So we are down to 4 checks left in Ganon's tower for where that Misery Mire Big Key could be. If it's in here at all. Although I'm feeling Spike Cave. I'm feeling, since neither of these runners decided to check Spike Cave before going into Ganon's tower, that's going to be the thing that bites them. There's nothing really that points towards it. It's just one of those locations.
And unfortunately, checking Spike Cave you'd have to reclimb the mountain again, as well.
It sure would. It sure would. But Furious on his way to the Gauntlet. Some of the coolest rooms to watch, and you really get a sense for how comfortable the runners are with execution when watching these rooms. You've got to deal with enemy RNG, as well as how well you manage your items.
Right, and
Furious having a little bit of trouble with the blue Zyzax.
And Wolfie getting the bad news on the right side, but we'll go ahead and steal a key for warping away.
And we will see Wolfie go and complete his left side checks. I believe it looked like he did Dark Magician strats. And Furious clears up Landmo 2. Just a 2 cycle, not too badly. And, there's discussion in chat about the Misery Mire Big Key being in Validation Chest. Honestly, that's probably one of the best places it can be. Because then you can go and it's like, aha, I'm in go mode. I can kill Aga, mirror, flute to 6, and finish off your last crystal.
And that was a satisfying 1 cycle right there for the Aga 2 chest.
We will adjust the cropping on Furious in just a moment. Don't worry about that.
And there's the red mail for Furious. So Furious is fully equipped. And we are back.
All right, was not pre-Moldworm 2. So here we go. Are we going to see that Misery Mire Big Key in the Moldworm 2 chest?
And, oh no, just the 5 rupees. So the hunt will still be on.
Ah, okay. So what awful place is it going to be?
Uh, At, at this point, it's because at this point we're down to Spike Cave, um, we're down to Thieves Town Big Chest and Skull Woods Big Chest right now. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct. Yes. And one of those things could be the mushroom that would also lead to that quest. But so 3 checks. Furious is not going to check any of those 3 at first. He is going to go and clear his Swamp Palace.
Meanwhile, Wolfie is coming back and doing the tower room after getting the bad news on the left side.
Furious having a little bit of issues with Aga, but gets him down regardless.
Wolfie showing off those boomerang skills in the tower room.
Doing the boomerang swag, getting all those lag frames. And yeah, it does look like Wolfie may have a little bit of a lead here. Considering that he has a slight execution advantage and has already cleared Swamp. We'll have a better idea once Wolfie has completed his climb. It's nicely through Mimics 1. And another great shot through Mimics 2, and Wolfie enters his gauntlet rooms.
But just one climb later, and Wolfie climbing Aga Tower right now as Furious makes his first dip into Swamp. Um, uh, Unfortunately, we already know that the big key will not be in Swamp, but it will be at least be one of the crystal dungeons that's required to hurt Ganon.
If you want to see an example of the kind of decisions that you can make in the gauntlet in terms of execution, if you go back and compare the 2 Stalfos rooms compared to Furious and Wolfie, Wolfie was ready with the bow and the sword, but was 100% to throw skulls if he needed them. And Wolfie setting up a very interesting attempt at a landmost single cycle, purposely luring the bunny beam to the door to ensure that the 3 worms all spawn at the exact same time.
That was
That was very cool. I've never seen that before.
and getting a simul kill on 2 of them that was incredible. That was the first time that I've seen a strategy like that, and getting a double site and getting 2 of them down in one go is that was very nice. That was very cool to watch.
Wolfie, definitely a veteran of the randomizer, has been running it for several years. And I'll just like to take this opportunity to remind chat to give these runners a follow. You can ask them about their strats, about their thoughts. And, huge shout out to our tracker, Arteril, who has kept us both honest in this seed when we get overly excited about things. And big thanks to Finch for joining me on comms. I hope it's been enjoyable so far.
Oh, it's been absolutely fantastic. It's been wonderful, and thank you for the opportunity. And Wolfie getting those 10 arrows there, so
About to, yeah.
oh.
got trolled by the Moldorm at the top, was so excited to just go and check that last chest because he is hoping it is that Misery Mire big key. Because otherwise, he's got to check some awful places.
And unfortunately, there's the bad news in the Moldorm 2 chest. But we'll still, even though the key's not there, he will still, go ahead and defeat Aga. Not climb down the tower in a.
Nope, do not mirror in frustration.
Nice double right there.
Accidental mirrors after Moldorm 2 do happen, and they always feel very bad to both witness and do. Of course, both runners get the exact same Aga 2 pattern. Wolfie doing a good job with it, manages to take it down Aga 2 in a few less phases. Knowing those angles to hit them at, of course, the longer you go and spend on Aga 2, the more desynced the sprites get. And Furious showing off his own diver down skills, doing the I think did he do the jumpless setup where you don't have to jump into the water?
I actually was looking at Wolfie's screen to try to see which way Wolfie would go, unfortunately, so I did not catch that. But now does Wolfie go north or south from here?
Looks like south. Gonna go and check that Thieves Town big chest because everybody knows Pendant Thieves Town. Oh no, is going to.
Oh, Magic Bat.
Oh no, Hammer Pegs. That is a check that we've always forgot. I completely forgot about Hammer Pegs. He did already check Magic Bat when he did his Smith Chain.
Okay. But yeah, the Hammer Pegs. This would be a.
Oh, I think he's gonna flute to check that. Then he'll check the pair of big chests.
That is a fun item location right there.
All right, and Furious has finished Swamp, which does confirm that Wolfie does have a pretty significant lead at this point, since he has also full cleared Thieves Town. Although if Furious does find the Misery Mire big key in there, may make up a little bit of time. But there is the fourth sword, so we will have Butter Sword for Ganon. Oh, they're both going to Spike Cave. Okay, cool. So we may have a race, Speed Gaming viewers. So if you like close races, you're hoping for Big Key in Spike Cave.
This is going to be this is down to the wire, especially since at this point, now Furious would still have Hammer Pegs to do, but otherwise they're pretty well synced in remaining checks that they can do.
Yeah, Furious would. I'm not sure.
And there is.
Oh, baby!
We have a race. We have a pretty much synchronized, and both of our runners starting in the Dark World because they do have the mirror and they defeated Aga. But it beats going right back through Spike Cave.
All right, Speed Gaming fans, you do not want to miss the end of this. So both runners going to go into Mire. They have all the small keys that they need. They have already cleared that. They are in go mode. They have a Vidi kill. The only difference in equipment is Wolfie does have that Butter Sword from the mushroom. may save him a little bit of time on Vitreous and Ganon, but and we do know that Wolfie is very solid on his execution. We see a much cleaner Mire 2 from him. Well, not a much cleaner. It was only a couple seconds difference.
Right.
But those seconds can make all the difference at this point.
And it looks like they are splitting off for how to get to the room.
I do believe that Wolfie's route is quicker. Because, yeah, Wolfie's route is considerably quicker because you don't have to take that teleport tile.
So Wolfie will have, it looks like about a 5-second advantage. But anything can happen.
Now, I was not paying attention as they fluted in because I was so hype about the sync. I did not see if either of them armed I'm blanking on the name. Spooky. Looks like Wolfie did. And so did Furious. All right, fantastic. And they both had that successfully. So Wolfie a few seconds ahead, heading into his Vitreous fight. Is going to use Cape Dash strats. This is really fantastic with the Butter Sword. As you saw, just 3 dashes through there. Furious will take a few more with the Tempered Sword. And 8 arrows to the eye.
And there is that go mode small key that we were all looking for, of course, in Misery Mire. But slightly more importantly, there is that 7th crystal for both Wolfie and Furious right behind. Right on Wolfie's heels for that.
All right, so now it is all about the Ganon fight. Wolfie has the advantage, but you know, at anything can happen in the Ganon fight. Midnight Snacks, but all right, Wolfie into the Ganon fight. Will only have 6 hits per phase in phases 1 and 2. Furious Magic will have to do 12 slashes per phase. So that's some more time saved for Wolfie to gain an advantage. They'll both have identical phases 3 and 4. 3 and 4 being the more common ones to have a slight accident and fall down that hole.
And
Wolfie's going to be playing it safe.
Already being on phase 3 and nearly in phase 4. And Furious is in phase 3.
Arrows in the Light World, we sure did find them. It is 12 hits regardless with either Tempered Sword or Butter Sword with spins. You could theoretically do it with slashes, but the timing for when Ganon is vulnerable is way too tricky to spot. And if you've done enough Silverless Ganon, this is actually probably one of the easier parts of the fight. Ganon teleports are very predictable based on your movements. You just gotta watch those fire bats.
Right, with those fire bats sending you off in the other direction of where your cursor's taking you. But Wolfie takes down Ganon. So get your GGs ready in chat.
As Wolfie raises a sword in triumph and waits for the bridge to descend. And oh no, Furious takes a fall. Furious takes a fall as Wolfie crosses the bridge and finishes with an official race time of 1:57.29. And spam those emotes both in SG and in Wilds chat. And we will have Wolfie join us in just a moment as we watch Furious go and take on Ganon. Part 2 is going to get a slightly different pattern this time, but still the same thoughts about Midnight Snacks.
And why is there a light in the fridge if we're not meant to have midnight snacks?
I know, right? Furious doing a nice job now with phase 2, using the cape for invulnerability frames and staying up against the wall to get 2 hits on Ganon.
And fortunately does have that blue potion to restore magic.
On to his phase 3. The phase 3 in the first Ganon fight was pretty favorable with the warps. This one also seems fairly well, but there's one more left to go. And it is just another 12 spins for Furious. Going to be being extra careful this time not to bounce himself off the ledge. Going for safe 2 hits per cycle as opposed to the optimal 3.
But it looks like...
Oh, only going to get 1 this cycle. Silverless Ganon is probably one of the most important strats you can learn in this game, because the Ganon fight can often be a equalizer, and you'll run into Silverless more often than not. And when if your finishing the seed comes down to finding those silver arrows, which are often not logically required, you can get a lot. But we'll get some GGs ready for Furious Magic, as he is waiting for his bridge to descend, and he will cross the finish line with a official race time of 2 hours and 14 seconds. So get your GGs in chat, and we will get both of them in here in just a moment.
GG to our racers. That was a very close fight, especially for how that went.
And we are joined by our restream winner, Wolfie, who finished 3rd place overall. GG's, Wolfie. Give us your thoughts on that seed.
Nice last location. And Tamara and Ice. So.
Also joined by Furious Magic, who has finished 4th place overall. GG to you as well.
GG's.
So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about this seed. We were a little bit nervous, Wolfie, when you did Kakariko, you did South Shore, and you were skipping Link's house for a little bit, and then you find that Master Sword.
Yep, just plan to grab that on my next save and quit.
And welcome, Furious. Tough luck with that fall on your Ganon fight. I think you were quite a few spins in as well.
Yeah.
That feels bad.
It was close. My son was just feeling shaky or something. I don't know. I just pressed the wrong direction on the D-pad and then just took a fall. So, unfortunate, but it happens.
And at the end of the day, you still brought home the bacon. It was still the second one was definitely also very clean as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, I got a 1-on-1 with Tempered Sword on the second fight, so I'll take that for sure, But yeah.
All right, we'll start with Wolfie. I would say, when did Aga first start to cross your mind? Because I believe that you were out of checks when you went to go and climb Aga's tower.
Not quite. I could have gone back for Zora, but that didn't seem worth it. But Aga was looking pretty suspicious due to the fact that I had Lamp, Master Sword, Flippers, and Hookshot. But I still figured it was worth it to clear Eastern first.
And Furious, you still had Tower of Hera when you had Aga. Was Aga on your mind earlier, or
Aga was on my mind before the Eastern dip. I was thinking, there's a very good chance it could be an Aga seed because we had Flippers, we had Hookshot, so that was most Dark World. But I'm still missing both the hammer and both gloves. So I'm thinking, Aga seems very likely right now, but I still want to make an Eastern dip because, it might not be a ped seat, so it would have been worse at the time, in my opinion, to check Eastern. But then after that, I just had Hera and Zora, so I figured I'll just go for Aga and see what happens.
And unfortunately, your stream had dropped a little bit, Furious. So when you first entered the Dark World and head over to West Dark World, did you accidentally jump off Graveyard Ledge because your stream cut out and then we saw you swimming up again?
Yeah, my mirror spot was like right on the ledge where I couldn't take the portal back to the Dark World, so I had to save and quit and go back up there again, which was unfortunate, but whoops.
And then Wolfie, you really were determined to go and get those pendants. And how disappointed were you when Blind didn't drop the hammer? And was there any point after you had all 3 of those pendants that you thought about running up for those silvers?
I know Blind mentioned the hammer in his message, so I was like, hey buddy, do you want to give that to me maybe? But yeah, the idea with the silvers was if I got into go mode and still had just Master Sword and had a convenient moment to go to the woods and grab the silvers, I might have done it, but as soon as I got the Tempered Sword, I knew I wasn't going back for silvers.
It really was a fantastic back and forth race. Furious was the first one into the Dark World and first one to find the boots, but chose not to go and follow those up on the north route and went and did the south route. While Wolfie went and got those first glove earlier. So that was a bit of a divergence there. Furious, were you kind of kicking yourself after you went back to King's Tomb and found your Titans?
Yeah, so my game plan was basically, Sieves. When I first went to Village of Outcasts, I didn't have hammer, and I only checked the front 4 of Sieves Town, so I decided to basically put off Sieves Town as long as I could until I got, at least a hammer. And it was going to be King's Tomb to Sieves Town's last location, and that's when I got my mates. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? But
But yeah, really fantastic back and forth. You guys had both entered Ice Palace at the same time. Furious was like a few steps ahead for the hammer, but Wolfie, you were, amazing on stealing that key and then going back, stealing the key from the conveyor room and then going back to do your icebreaker. What prompted that kind of routing?
That routing would have worked out well, except for the fact that there was a key in the chest anyway, which kind of made it not worth it. But if I had not gotten that key, then I would have been able to use the one I stole to go through the door and continue deeper into the dungeon.
It occurred to me like halfway through my icebreaker, I'm like, oh, I don't have a small key yet. If I don't get a small key before, Spike Chest, then I'm going to have to mirror and do IPPJ. Luckily for me, it worked out. So.
Yeah, and it was also incredible because you both entered Misery Mire at the exact same time as well. I think the only equipment difference, I think, was that butter sword that Wolfie you picked up from the mushroom.
Or rather, the first, both the first and the second entries into Mire. Wolfie was a little bit ahead into Misery Mire, having gotten the Titan bits a bit earlier, but Furious, without that Misery Mire big key, you had no hesitation. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go and dip into that Mire, and you were clearing Mire at the first time, the same time Wolfie was.
Wait, did he have the big key at that time, or?
No, he did not either.
Okay, gotcha.
Big key was, you were both into Spike Cave at the exact same time.
Oh, that's neat.
So it was a great match, and so yeah, I would encourage everyone to follow both Wolfie and Furious Magic. Go into their chat, ask them questions. Any last comments? I'll start with Wolfie about how the mystery rolled or how you played.
Mystery rolled okay settings. not so great in the item location department, but pretty happy whenever I get, a key sanity mode of some kind at least. I mean, even happier if I get entrance, but those settings were pretty fun.
Yeah. I was happy when I saw key sanity, some sort of key sanity. I was really hoping for entrance as well, but can't get it all. And then other than that, settings were pretty tame. 5-7 defeat game. So and then as Wolfie said, logic was pretty dumb. I had to make multiple loops in order to find my progression, but that's just how it is.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for joining us on Restream. Thank you both for interviewing. And with that, I guess I'll mention the other runners. So we had said that Wolfie finished third overall. First place was Matt7898 with a 151.50. Second place was Krellbell with a 156.35. So really only 10 minutes separating the top four, and then Frostbite finishing in fifth with a 209.35. So I'd like to thank all of you for watching. Thank you so much to the runners for agreeing to be on Restream. It's tough to have hundreds of people analyzing your movements, but we enjoyed the race, and it was a fantastic one to watch. Big shout outs to Arteril, our tracker, who kept us honest every time us commentators got too excited. Both myself and, of course, big thanks to Sorcerer Finch. First time on comms, everybody. Give him a hand. Give him some GGs.
Oh shucks, it was fantastic, and mine. It was an absolute pleasure commentating with you, and getting a lot of your insight as well. Thank you all very much.
And with that, we'll sign off. We'll have another daily tomorrow. I believe it is at 2 p.m. Eastern. And it is going to be a 4-4 fast Ganon on a Speed Gaming channel to be decided. Next 2 weeks, we're going to have a lot of the standard hard item pool, which is going to be the tournament settings. And I would encourage all of you to follow Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 2 through 6 to catch all of those races. But for now, I am Mind of Me, and I will wish you all a good night and take care of each other, y'all.
And y'all take it easy.